Hi, my name is Nandini. I'm here to explain about the practical uses and implementation of AWS Developer Services. In the past video, we are discussing about the some of the foundations of the AWS Developer Services, and here I'm going to explain about the practical uses. And first one is discover how developers create, test, and launch apps with AWS. Discusses both traditional and serverless computing approaches, detailed explanation of the main AWS services and tools. And last one is like real world deployment and monitoring situations. Here I'm just writing about the few of the things, and we are going to next slide. In this video, I'm going to explain about the introduction and lecture content centered around application development with AWS services, coming from a hands on perspective to teach coding through to deployment using the AWS Management Console, CLI, and SDKs. And here some of the key services covered: AWS Lambda and serverless functions, EC2 and virtual machines, API gateways and to create an API, CloudWatch for to monitoring the system, overview of IAM roles and permissions, CI and CI pipelines and storage integrations. And in this slide, we are going to learn about building serverless applications with AWS services, AWS Lambda. And serverless deployment is conducted via AWS Lambda. You can write event based functions in Node.js, Python, Java, or other languages. You can invoke a Lambda function from these. First one is S3. S3 is for uploading the files, and API gateway for HTTP request, and DynamoDB streams is for DB database events. DB means database events, and you can use layers to manage dependencies, and you can reverse enrollment variables and IMA role. You can deploy your code with SAM, AWS console, or CI or CD pipelines. You can monitor your functions with CloudWatch logs or CloudWatch metrics. And here is the some of the deploying applications on Amazon EC2. First one is select AMI types of instance and storages, and set up key pairs and secure groups, and install your technology stack, anything like Node.js, MySQL, DB, or anything. Use user data scripts to automate configuration on boot, and scale with auto scaling groups and elastic load balancer like called ELB. Use plastic IPs for use elastic IPs for static public addresses. Take snapshots of your AMI as backup and to clone. And here is the creating REST APIs with API gateway. First one is creating and managing APIs with Amazon API gateway. Create, reset or WebSocket APIs. Connect endpoints to Lambda, EC2 or mock integrations. Allow for and these connections are allow for request validation and transformation, custom domain mapping, throttling to agent abuse, and catching for performance. Design using Swagger or OpenAI definitions. Secure API with either cognitive user tools or IAM authorization. And monitor use with usage plans and API keys. And here is some of the using AWS SDKs and CLI for deployment. Automation with both SDKs and command line interface. Language supported for these using AWS SDKs and CLI for developments are Python, JavaScript, Java, and Go. And some of the tasks we have to follow: uploading file to S3, deploying Lambda functions, launching EC2 instance, and AWS CLI, able to easily script and control terminal, AWS deploy, AWS Lambda, and AWS S3 commands to automate infrastructure, cloud formation, or CDK, use SDKs to integrate with applications to directly interact with AWS in real time. Monitoring and debugging application. First one is monitor performance logs or troubleshoots errors. AWS CloudWatch, we have three options like centralized logging, custom metrics, and dashboards. Alarms for performance or secure issues. AWS X-rays, we have two options like trace end-to-end request flow, identify latency bottlenecks, and audit API activity with CloudTrail, and enabled VPC flow logs for network monitoring. Last one is utilize real-time analysis of Lambda logs or EC2 logs and EC2 logs. And here is some of the workflow examples summary. Development to do deployment and monitoring in steps. Development locally in an IDE or AWS cloud. Package code with dependencies. Deploy with SAM or serverless framework Lambda, AMIS or Docker. Setup trigger and permissions. Monitor with CloudWatch or X-rays. Integrate CI or CID pipelines with code pipeline. High availability rollback and iterate continuously and stand up or tear down quickly with minimal downtime. Thank you.